Hey guys, we're continuing the project to change out our stereo and our speakers in the Land Cruiser. And today what I'm going to do is pull that old stereo out, check the new wiring harnesses to make sure that the plugs are going to work, and then we'll go to the workbench and we'll wire up the harness to the new Pioneer stereo. So first let's get started. We'll go in here inside the Land Cruiser and I'll show you how to pull the dash off and get that stereo out. It just takes about 5 minutes. One of the first things you want to do when you get one of these systems is to take your wiring harness and make sure before you solder it onto your new stereo that it does actually fit your vehicle. Now this one says it's for, Toyota's 1987 and up, and this is a 96, so it should cover it. The way you get this off is, we've done this before to put in the CDL switch that I added, but you're going to pop the ashtray out. If you have this cup holder, you're going to pop it out with some screws that are in these corners. So take those out. One on each side. There's really only 4 screws that hold this dash in. And after that, see, this whole thing will come out. Set it aside. Put your screws with it so you don't lose them. There's 2 screws right here where the ashtray was. One in each corner. So we're going to do that. Flip this light on and see if that gives a little more light on the subject. So put it down here so I don't want to lose those. And then I'm going to show you another trick. I got my keys with me because as you start to pull this dash out, you need a little bit more room. Okay, that's all you got to do with the screwdriver. Then I'm going to put my keys in and I'm going to go to the ACC position, foot on the brake, and I got to go one more, and I'm going to pull this all the way back to low. Then I'll push it back to ACC so the whole ignition system is not on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in here where the glove box was and where this little thing was, and I'm going to start wiggling my dash out. It's got friction locks on it and it will come out. You just work it out, get your fingers kind of in the cracks, keep trying to get it pulled. There it goes. So it pops out like that. At this point you can unhook, if you want, all these different gauges and stuff, but I'm almost positive we can set this aside. Pull that down to low as well. It's got 2, 3, 4 screws on it. I think I might be able just to get it out. It's holding it up the bottom. I thought I got this out of the way a whole lot easier last time, but I don't think I did. I think I got it to right there. So I think maybe that's good enough. Let's take our screwdriver and see if we can get this thing out. So we're going to take these screws out. There's 2 in the top. We're just going to leave that piece of dash right there kind of in the way, but I think we can manipulate this around and not have to undo every freaking harness on there. But if we do, it's not that big a deal. I just avoid unhooking harnesses when I have to because they have little catches on them and stuff like that that you're exercising every time you undo them. So I try not to continuously undo those. I'm trying to bring that one out on the end of my screwdriver. There it is. There's 2 down here. And then you'll see that there's a bracket that holds the stereo that we're basically unscrewing. And then that bracket on each side will hook up to our new Pioneer stereo. It might help to bring some needle nose pliers in here to get these screws out. As you get them loose, you can just reach in and grab them. Let me see if I can just maneuver this one out, kind of like I did that other one. There it goes. We'll have to get that one kind of slid down. I'm going to go through this opening to get this one. There it goes. Okay, get that screw. I remember one of them was out there in the garage. Okay, what's holding us up? I'm just moving it around a little bit because there's some screws on the side of it that are hitting on things. Now as I get it out here, this is when you're going to want to look behind it and unsnap your harnesses. So I'm going to go down instead of up. I'm going to go down like this. Yeah. Well, that was interesting. The radio came on because that's one thing we probably should have done is unhook the power. But there's our stereo, and here's the antenna wire. It's in this corner. We're going to reuse that in our new stereo. Now back here was our harnesses. See, there was only one harness hooked to this. If you look in the back, it's just right here on the bottom corner. So let's look. But here's the brackets, these little side brackets. We'll go over to the workbench and we'll put those on our new stereo. But here's where I want to try my connectors that I got. Let me open this one. So we're going to open this one. Use that trusty knife. Get that open. There's two connectors in this bag. One's kind of small, which actually I see a small plug back there. So that wasn't hooked to that stereo, but there is a plug back here that this is the one that was hooked to the back of the stereo, this harness. And this gray one's just back here, not being used. And then there's another little gray one up here that you can see that's not being used. Further, even behind that harness, I found this one. I'm hoping this thing will pick up in this low light. I'm in the dash. But there's a little 2-wire harness that's just back here, kind of close to this AC stuff that's not being used. So anyway, our 2 wires that we have as a stereo harness hooked to this little one, and both of them are gray. So maybe that's aftermarket stereo stuff, but the harnesses kind of all go together. So I'm hoping that this is one way to get your stereo hooked up to aftermarket stereos, and I guess you don't have to use the original plug that went in the back of this stereo. And then just showing you, man, my antenna's coming right here. 2 jacks in here that these 2 things fit, so I'm going to go for it and go wire up the new stereo on the workbench, and then we'll come back, slide it in, and put the dash back together. Hopefully this is a quick one. Something to note is I can actually see behind here some of my air conditioning and heating ducts and stuff, so if you ever need to work on those things, you may be able to get to something in here. There's also another connector that's not connected in here. It's really little. I have no idea what that is. It's just open back there. So maybe I'll get my wiring diagram and find out what that is. I'll bet you anything one of them's an automatic antenna thing, because this radio would not make my antenna go up automatically. I had to use these little buttons right here to make it go up and down. So I'm going to put it back in park so I can turn my key off. And we're going to turn the key off, and we're going to go to the workbench and get this thing wired up. Alright, here we are at the workbench, and we're going to unbox the new Pioneer. This is the one I showed you on the back tailgate of the Land Cruiser earlier in the video. Now I will tell you why I unboxed this. If this project has kind of went long on me. You know how life kind of tends to get in the way. And we had this and that happen, and I've gone from this being a birthday present to through Christmas to now it's in the new year. We had some really cold, unseasonal weather here that everybody in the U.S. experienced with some kind of polar vortex or something. And so, you know, trying to work outside on a vehicle is tough, and heating your garage is real expensive to try to, when your garage is in single digits. Or at least it's single digits outside. The garage is usually 20 or something. That's really hard to heat. So, unboxing this. So if you are in the market for a stereo, you'll see exactly how this one comes. Set that over there. And we'll also compare it to the size of the original. So you'll get to see it here before you actually go buy it. So this is the Pioneer. Model number's in the description, but basically it's a multimedia unit. Very nice looking. and the screen will tilt to get the view angle right because it is a DVD player, as well as I think it tilts out to get the DVD in behind this face. So we'll play with all those features here real soon, but just taking a look at those two, sitting side by side, the depth is probably very similar. It's if anything, it's maybe a 1/4 inch or so, the heat sink on the back, and a 1/4 inch further forward with this little bottom edge right here. So it's not too bad that direction. Let's look at it up, and it's got to fit this way into the slot. So it's exactly a doubled in size, which we're seeing right there. So that's going to be fine. I mean, it even fits down between these little brackets that are sticking up just a hair. So that means that'll work. What I'm thinking about doing, to tell you the truth, is lining up the front of this metal with the front of the metal on the other one, and letting the black be the black on the sides right here. So I'm going to line it up right here in this area and kind of let that be how I set these if they're slotted at all. So I'm going to change them over, these little brackets. This is what holds it in the truck. These are the screws that came with to mount on the side over here. Now, if their thread pattern is different on the side of this, you probably want to use the new screws, but just use these brackets. If the thread pattern's not a big consequence, you can use these, or you can use the ones that were in your bracket already on your old stereo. Be very careful not to scratch the front of your new stereo. See how that fits right in those little pre-made holes. This bottom hole on the back of each bracket is a little bit down, but when I was putting those other screws in, I just kind of pointed toward it, lined it up, and it lined right up. Okay, I'm just going to show you here. What I like to do is this is some heat shrink, and I'm just cutting some little roughly 1 inch pieces here. And the reason I do that is because you have to feed on a piece of heat shrink before you do your solders. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was kind of how I do a solder joint. I do it that way, right there, for hopefully you can see that. I'll take this camera and get a little bit of a view, and I'll cut it in. But basically, if I just twist them together like that right there, without pre-tinning them, they twist together better, and I can twist them and then tin them and basically solder them all up at the same time. And I'm going to do that here in just a minute and show you how it works. And you can see behind there's another one that's got the heat shrink already on it. So let me show you guys how this works. You got your soldering iron all hot, and you got some solder. And now that I've got those twisted together, these black one happens to be the ground. I'm going to get it hot. Until that solder will melt through that wire, not just on the soldering iron, but through the wire. That way I know I got that wire hot enough to melt that solder, which means I'm getting a good electrical connection between those two wires right there. Okay, then I'm going to move my heat shrink back up here. Make sure that's together good. I'm going to move my heat shrink back up here right on it and hit it with my gun. Just draws it up. Makes it nice and tight. And when you set your gun down, set it down easy. Don't bang it down every time, because you basically got a red hot element in there, and just like a light bulb, if you shake it while it's hot, or jar it while it's hot, it can break. They won't all break, but most of those heat guns can be broken that way. And I see online, like on Harbor Freight, people doing reviews and stuff on these little cheap guns. I mean, they'll last you no problem, but if you abuse them and bang them down on the table every time you put them down, they'll definitely break. So, all right, I'm gonna keep putting this together. But basically, on the back of this little package where I've got my two connectors, it had the the wire out colors and what they do, and then I found a page in the manual here to call out the colors as well. So I'm just matching them up. So I like my stuff to look real nice, even if nobody's ever going to see it. You know, if somebody ever takes the stereo out after I don't have the car anymore, they'll look in there and go, "Wow, somebody did that very professionally," and I love that. So on here, I just want to make sure. So left front is white, left front negative is white, black, and that's what it said over here. So far, the color codes for Pioneer and this little harness I have are matching up. So here's my white one. This gauge wire is really fine for powering those speakers, but I guess Pioneer knows what they're doing. I mean, I probably would have run a little heavier wire on this harness, but you'd be amazed the kind of power you can run through a wire this size. So here's our whites. Again, I'm making sure both wires are doing their part there to tie together, not just wrapping one around, but actually wrapping each wire around the other wire. We got this all wired up. You can see that besides this is that parking brake wire that's got to go there. Everything else hooked up except for on the truck side there's a orange and black wire. I'm going to cap that. And on the radio side there's the mute wire and the reverse wire that lets you know that you're in reverse, so I could put up the camera for the backup camera. So we're going to take this, we're going to hook this into the truck, hook this into the radio, put it all back together in there, and we'll see what we got. I got this wiring harness, and it's the one that we just saw at the bench. I'm going to take these two ends, and I'm going to hook them to the gray connectors inside here. There's one gray connector right there, and it snaps on nice and tight. And there's another gray connector right here. Yeah, Charlie.
What's good?
Working on the truck.
Oh.
So I got that right there. Then the other thing you have to do is this long green wire that's supposed to go down here to the emergency brake. I'm going to run it this way and get underneath the dash over here underneath where my legs go. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to find another way to defeat that. And in order to do it, I just need this wire over here where I can kind of play with it later. So I'm probably right in your way, but I'm going to snake this over. Okay, one thing you can do is go get a light of some kind and put it underneath by your pedals, and then look in here. And when you need to run that wire, you can see light down through a crack to get a wire through to the under dash area. So it's not going to be any problem doing it that way. So I've got that down in there. Then I need to feed what I did was over here, I put my my microphone right here on this A-pillar, and then I ran the wire right behind this little piece of trim all the way down, and then until I got underneath the dash. So it's going to come back. It's going to come back from under the dash and come this way to the radio. So the green wire goes that way, the black wire from the mic comes this way. We'll hook the radio in, and then all I have to do is deal with how I'm going to handle this green wire, because I'm not sure how Pioneer works. It might have to see no ground when it first comes on, and then ground after it comes on, so that it feels like you put the brake on. If it just, as soon as the radio comes on, if it was grounded, that'd be fine. We can just screw this to a screw on the chassis somewhere and ground it. So either way, I'm either going to have to screw it to the chassis or put a little relay under there. The relay would be powered on by the stereo getting powered on, which would then ground this wire. So that way it would get the two signals it needs. It needs to be powered on, then grounded, if that's the case. Some of them got real smart like that. I don't know if Pioneer did that. I'll let you know in this video which way it works, okay? So we're doing that. I'm underneath here running this wire right now, and I'm just going to tuck it up and use a few wire ties to keep it up and over and coming into this area. So I'll do that. One more thing that you need to hook up while you got this all tore out is your USB. And remember, this USB cable that comes with the Pioneer, you got the little side and you got the male side and the female side. The female side is what all your stuff plugs into, right? So it's got to be back here in the console or somewhere like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed the female side down through the dash right here and get it underneath this console and just tuck it underneath the side all the way back. And I'm going to come up inside the center console right here so that I could open it up like this and just lay my phone in there. The other thing I may do is drill through in this little front pocket right here. There's a front pocket, as you guys know, right here on the front of this. And I might just drill through the back wall of that and have that little thing just sitting right there where I could just plug into it without having to open any of this console right here. So that's kind of my thoughts right now. I'm going to go ahead and get into that now and to see how it goes. The other thing is I know I'm going to put these electric seat heaters in later. So I'm going to have this whole console kind of tore apart to get to the wiring. At that point, I might put this in more permanently. So I may just run it underneath the console right now and leave it kind of hanging out right down here by the emergency brake just coming out from under the console. That way I can just hook up whenever I need to. I really don't think I need to because I'm going to use the Bluetooth capability of this thing. So, but I thought I'd run it anyway so that the wire will be back there and I won't have to undo the dash again. So that's something else I wanted to remind y'all of. Okay. Alright, so now I've got all my wires ran that you saw. Everything's coming to this jack right here. So I'm going to snap that in. It goes with the tab down right here in the back. Like that. Here's the USB connector that runs under into the console. So that's going to run right here. That allows me to hook up USB stuff to it. Here's the antenna. The antenna on this one's the opposite corner of the original, but it's actually closer to where the antenna comes from, so it should be easy. And the last but not least is my microphone for my hands-free. It is right here. Got it hooked in. So I think that's it. So we've got all those things hooked up. Now we just need to make sure we don't pinch any of these wires while we put this unit in. So what I'm going to do is start lowering it down in here. Oh, hang on. Let's do the key trick again and get my stick shift out of the way. Just shut the door. Oh, look at that. Thing powered up. It's kind of cool. It actually fired up because we had to turn the key to accessory. I can't turn it off as long as this stick shift is in my way. But I've got to get past this without scratching the front of it. Now it's looking like it's going in. Oh, you know what? I see that my little microphone came unplugged. So let's get this plugged back in. This stuff is hard to do when you got all this in the way. It might be better just to unhook your dash, all those connections. But I was trying to do it without the hassle. I got my mic back in there. It's in the right spot. USB's hooked up good. Connector's good. Antenna's good. Okay, now I'm going this way. Just gotta be patient.
you can work your hand through the hole under here where your ashtray goes. You just keep working it so you start getting it back in position. Whoops, I'm doing something on there, aren't I? Now, that side's on. Is this side on? Yes. Okay, that's how it goes. So it actually tilts toward the driver a little bit. See if I can get this screw in. Looks like the stereo is trying to fire up for the first time. Go through some settings. Okay, that one went in. I'll snug them all up at once. Kind of wait on that until I get them all in correctly. Because you got to get this kind of lined up. So you'll fit this hole right here real good when you put the front back on. Yeah, you have to get those little wiring harnesses in the back up out of the way. They kind of hit between the whatever's in the very back of this thing and in the back of the stereo. They just get pinched. So I think everything looks good now. It's a nice snug fit. Put those in. Those are threading in real easy, so no, I'm not cross threading. Now I'm just going to go around and snug those by feel to exactly 15 foot-pounds. I'm just teasing. That's to the Texas know-how foot-pounds that feels right. Now let's see how easy this will go back in. Hitting on anything? That stereo hitting or? Yeah, it looks like my wood trim is hitting. I may have to trim the wood trim. That's kind of sorry. You know what I might do is just take that little piece of wood trim off. If I could get my heat gun and heat it up, I'll just take that little piece off where it's just black again. Alright. What I had to do was the wire, the blue wire from this little package right here went to a blue and white wire, which was on here they call it let's see, power antenna blue, and it went to the blue and white wire, which was the power antenna relay. And what was happening was every time I turn on the radio, you hear this clicking, and it would go on and off, and clicking and going on and off, and clicking and going off, and it was trying to activate that antenna. Well, either I've got an aftermarket antenna on here that somebody replaced through the years and it doesn't respond to that, or something, but I can still activate my antenna right here, and that's just the way I'm gonna have to keep doing it. I had to clip that little wire because it was causing problems. And then the other thing I did was all these switches up here, I went ahead and unplugged those, and went with this shifter back like this, you can just completely get this to kind of hang down out of the way. And it made putting that radio in there so much easier. I could reach underneath and feel what was hitting in the back and get it situated and just put it in where I know nothing's pinched. So that's what I did. And then it seems to be playing right now, no problem. That's some country and western stuff. I mean, what else do you expect for Texas know-how? Kind of new country. But I still got to set the time and date and all that. And what I'll probably do is another video on just how to get this all set up and how to hook up your Bluetooth and all that. But right now, I'm going to get these screws back in, get this back in, and go watch the Super Bowl, because that's what's on right now. So, till then, this is Clay with Texas Know-How.